Dear Chosen One, the battle you've been fighting was never just about flesh and blood, was it? You felt it in your bones. That presence that came dressed in charm, sweetness, seduction. But behind those eyes, there was a darkness sent to break you down. The devil didn't just send an enemy. He sent his daughter to dance with you, hoping her steps would weave a web strong enough to trap your soul. And yet, something happened that hell didn't predict. The very force meant to confuse you fell under the spell of your light. This is not just a story of attack, Chosen One. It is a revelation of how powerful your essence is, even when you don't see it. The enemy believed you would fall, but what they sent ended up broken at your feet, unable to resist the truth you carry. That's why you're here right now, because deep inside, you know something unseen tried to bind you, and it failed. But don't think the danger is past. When the enemy's plan collapses like this, Chosen One, they don't walk away quietly. No, they double their efforts, trying to recover what was lost. That is why you can't turn away from this message. What I am about to reveal to you could mean the difference between staying trapped in an old game or finally walking free from it forever. You need to see the invisible strings they tried to tie around your spirit, and you need to understand how your light made the darkness tremble. Stay with me now, because what I will share will open your eyes in ways you never imagined. In the next moments, I'll show you how that dance was designed to destroy you, but ended up exposing the weakness of their plan. I'll help you identify the signs that the devil's daughter has tried to hide, the moments where her mask slipped, the cracks in the illusion, because many of you are still tangled in a web that was meant to fall apart the moment you stood firm in your truth. Before we dive deeper, Chosen One, I invite you to like this video if your soul already feels this truth touching you, and subscribe to the channel so these messages can continue reaching you. Leave a comment. My light breaks every chain if you're ready to declare your freedom. And don't you dare leave, because before this ends, I will show you the key to breaking this spiritual trap for good. Chosen One, the enemy knew you wouldn't fall for obvious traps. He saw how you resisted open attacks, how you turned away from temptations that came dressed in clear darkness. So he devised something far more dangerous. He sent a force that looked like everything you ever prayed for. The devil's daughter didn't come with fire and fury. She came cloaked in the illusion of connection, of spiritual alignment, of something that would finally ease the loneliness you carried. This was no ordinary attack. It was a plan tailored to your heart's desires, a dance designed to disarm your discernment. And yet, the enemy underestimated one thing. Your light was too powerful to be manipulated forever. You began to sense it, didn't you? Even when everything seemed right on the surface, there was that inner stirring, that quiet voice telling you something was off. It wasn't loud, it wasn't dramatic, but it was persistent, a small discomfort that grew every time you looked deeper. This wasn't the connection you thought it was. Your spirit was speaking before your mind could understand, trying to warn you that the dance you'd been invited into was choreographed not by love, but by deceit. And that uneasy feeling, Chosen One, was the first crack in the enemy's plan. The signs were always there, subtle at first, but undeniable as your spirit grew more aware. Perhaps you saw it in a dream, a warning delivered through symbols only your soul could decode. Or maybe it was in the moments of silence, when the energy felt heavy instead of peaceful, when your heart felt drained instead of uplifted. The devil's daughter tried to mask the truth, but your spiritual sensitivity was too sharp to ignore the subtle darkness hidden behind the charm. You started to notice how this presence drew from your light without ever filling you in return. This wasn't just a connection, Chosen One. It was an energetic snare, a dance designed to entangle you in invisible threads that would drain your power while keeping you distracted. The enemy knew he couldn't overpower you head-on, so he tried to weave a web around your spirit, one soft step at a time, one emotional tie after another. But here's where hell's plan began to crumble. Your light, pure and unwavering, didn't weaken under the weight of this false bond. Instead, it began to break the threads they worked so hard to weave. The dance intended to enslave became the stage for their defeat. Without even realizing it at first, you started to shift the dynamic. Your light wasn't just resisting, it was disrupting. What was meant to enchant and overpower you began to fall apart in the face of your authenticity. The devil's daughter found herself confused, shaken by the very force she was sent to destroy. That's the power of your truth, chosen one. It destabilizes the darkness, exposes the game, and forces the enemy to face what it fears most: the light that cannot be bought, bound, or broken. And what happens when darkness meets a light it cannot manipulate? Chaos. The threads they tried to weave around your soul began to snap one by one. The charm faded, the illusion cracked. The dance turned into disorder, as the force sent to break you became the one losing control. Spiritually, this is the moment when the enemy's plan starts to collapse under its own weight. Your resistance didn't come from aggression or force, but from the quiet, steady presence of your truth. A truth that made the mask slip and the false connection unravel. But don't be fooled, chosen one. When their first plan fails, they don't retreat, they regroup. The enemy doesn't accept defeat easily. When his daughter fell under your spell, when she lost herself in the light she came to extinguish, it triggered a new wave of attacks. The dance might be ending, but the battle shifts to a new form. That's why this message is urgent. You must stay awake, stay guarded, and stay anchored in your light. The battle is not over, but the victory is already written, if you don't lose sight of who you are. You see, chosen one, the enemy underestimated how deeply your light is rooted in truth. When they sent their daughter to dance with you, they believed her charm would be enough to blind your spirit, to wrap you in illusions so soft you wouldn't even realize you were being bound. But what they didn't count on was how your soul would begin to push back in ways even you couldn't explain at first. Your prayers, your moments of stillness, your yearning for what is real. These were the weapons they couldn't see coming. Slowly, without grand gestures or outward battles, your inner truth started to dismantle the structure they tried to build around you. And what they hoped would be a silent takeover became a battlefield where their own plans crumbled under the weight of divine light. And as the enemy's daughter tried to hold her ground, she found herself slipping deeper into the confusion of her own failed mission. The very steps of the dance she had mastered so well became clumsy, out of rhythm, lost in the presence of something she could neither control nor fully understand. That's the power of a chosen one's authenticity. It disrupts, it confounds, it reveals. The spiritual frequency you carry is not something that can be mimicked or manipulated. It is born from a covenant far greater than the schemes of darkness. And so, the dance that was meant to entrap became the space where her own spiritual walls began to fall, leaving her vulnerable, exposed, and overwhelmed by what she thought she could conquer. But chosen one, the enemy doesn't simply accept defeat. When the devil's daughter fell under your spell, when she found herself captivated by the very light she aimed to extinguish, the enemy's fury grew. That's when the attacks changed form. No longer content to work through subtle ties and emotional games, the darkness sought to come at you through other channels. Confusion in your thoughts, tension in your environment, sudden waves of discouragement meant to make you question your strength. This is the second phase of the battle that many chosen ones face without even realizing it. When the initial trap fails, the enemy tries to flood the field with chaos, hoping you'll tire and surrender. But this too can be overcome if you remember that the same light that broke the first snare is more than enough to withstand what comes next. What you must understand is that the devil's daughter didn't fall under your spell because you used force or manipulation. No, it was the quiet, unwavering consistency of your truth that undid her. Every time you chose to stay rooted in integrity, every time you refused to betray your spirit for the sake of fleeting pleasure or false peace, you sent ripples through the web they tried to cast over you. This is how real spiritual power works, not through loud declarations or dramatic gestures, but through the steady flame of a soul that refuses to dim itself to fit into a false design. And as that light grew, the very energy sent to conquer you found itself disarmed, powerless, and unable to continue the game. And so the dance turned into disorder. The enemy's daughter, once so confident in her mission, began to unravel. The charm faded. The control slipped through her fingers like sand. Spiritually, this is the moment when what was hidden is forced into the light, when the illusion can no longer hold, because the vibration of truth is too high for deception to survive. You saw it, didn't you? The subtle shift, the way the mask cracked, the way the energy between you changed. This is the proof that the plan was breaking down, that what was meant to entangle you was falling apart in the face of divine design. And with that, the battlefield shifted once more, because where the enemy loses ground, he always seeks to strike again, in new and unexpected ways. That is why, chosen one, you must not let your guard down. When the dance ends and the threads fall away, the enemy grows desperate. He sends confusion, whispers of doubt, storms of distraction, anything to pull your eyes from the truth you now see. But know this, you are not standing in this place by accident. The strength that broke the first chain is still with you, ready to carry you through what comes next. The key is to remain anchored in that light, to refuse to be drawn back into the game, no matter how clever or urgent the new attack may seem. Remember, the battle may change shape, but the victory remains the same, if you stay faithful to what you know in your spirit to be true. And in this moment, as you reflect on the journey so far, take a breath and feel the peace that begins to rise when truth takes root. The enemy may try to stir the waters again, but there is a stillness that comes when the soul aligns with its purpose. The dance they sent to destroy you became the stage for their defeat. The spell they thought would bind you became the revelation of their own weakness. And now, chosen one, the next step is yours, to walk forward with eyes open, spirit strong, and heart unshaken. Because what comes next is not just survival, but the reclaiming of all the power they tried to steal. There comes a moment in every chosen one's journey when the mask fully falls, and what was hidden in plain sight can no longer be denied. You began to see it, the cracks in the charm, the moments where the energy no longer felt like a blessing, but like a drain. The devil's daughter, once so certain she could wrap you in a web of sweet lies, now stood exposed by the very light she sought to dim. This is the turning point, when the chosen one's clarity becomes the enemy's collapse. It is not loud. It does not come with fanfare. It is a quiet knowing that settles deep in your spirit, a knowing that cannot be shaken. And from this knowing comes strength, the kind of strength that makes the darkness tremble. But the enemy doesn't give up so easily. When his daughter fell under your light's spell, he turned to new tactics. He tried to confuse your mind, to make you question the truth you now saw so clearly. He whispered doubts into your heart, hoping to reignite the ties that had already begun to break. He sent storms around you, sudden conflicts, unexpected betrayals, shifts in the atmosphere, all designed to pull your focus away from the victory that was unfolding. And this, chosen one, is where many fall back into the trap, not because the dance resumes, but because the battle changes shape, and they don't see it coming. But you, chosen one, you have felt this shift. You've seen how the enemy's strategy morphs when his first plan fails. And now, you stand at a crossroads where discernment is your greatest weapon, because the light that broke the first chain will break the rest. If you stay rooted in it, this is where your power multiplies. In refusing to step back onto the dance floor, in refusing to entertain what once sought to destroy you. Every time you choose stillness over reaction, clarity over confusion, truth over illusion, you dismantle another piece of the enemy's work. And with each choice, the chains fall faster. The devil's daughter didn't fall under your spell because you fought her. She fell because your light made it impossible for her to keep playing the role she was sent to play. She came thinking she would be the one to lead, to control, to bind. But instead, she was the one caught in the radiance of a soul aligned with truth. And this, chosen one, is a lesson the enemy fears you'll learn. That your greatest weapon is not force, but authenticity. The more you walk in your true light, the harder it becomes for darkness to even approach, let alone entangle you. And that is why the attacks become more desperate, more chaotic, because they know their grip is slipping. And now, the dance has ended. The threads have snapped, but the enemy still lingers at the edges, trying to find a new way in. This is when the chosen one must stand firmer than ever, knowing that victory is near. But the final test is endurance. The spiritual battlefield may grow quieter, but beneath the surface, the enemy plots. He waits for a moment of weakness, a crack in your resolve, a door left half open. But hear this truth, and let it settle in your soul. The same light that broke the first chain is more than enough to guard you against what comes next. You are not fighting alone. Heaven surrounds you, and your spirit has already won. You only need to hold the line. Think back, chosen one, to the moments where you felt weakest, where you doubted your strength, where you questioned your worth. Do you see now how those moments were the very ones that revealed the depth of your light? The enemy's daughter couldn't stand against that light. She came to conquer, and instead found herself conquered, not by might, but by the unwavering truth of who you are. And if that truth was enough to break her hold, it is enough to break any chain, any attack, any lie that comes against you now. This is your power, to stand, to shine, to be unmoved. And in doing so, you turn every trap into a testimony. And now, as you stand on this side of the battle, there is peace beginning to rise within you. You've seen the mask fall. You've felt the chains break. And though the enemy may still try, his greatest weapon, deception, has already failed. Let that peace take root. Let it remind you of who you are and what you carry. Because this was never just about one dance, one attack, one trial. It was about awakening you to your power, your purpose, and your protection. And now that you see it, chosen one, nothing the enemy sends can ever bind you the same way again. Chosen one, what really brought down the devil's daughter was not any fight or attempt to defeat her with her weapons. It was your authenticity, the genuine light that you carry, your steadfastness in remaining faithful to what God created you to be. The enemy's trap collapsed under the weight of your truth. That which was sent to trap you ended up revealing your strength, and each attack became part of the path to your strengthening. Today, the enemy's patterns are clear before your eyes, and this makes him a weakened adversary, because now he knows. You can already see through his strategies, and the more you walk in the light, the more fragile the schemes of darkness become. But the enemy does not give up easily. Even after your daughter's fall and the failure of the initial plan, he continues to prowl, trying to find a new opening, a moment of carelessness, a trace of old pain to try to reopen wounds. He causes confusion, tries to revive memories that once made you waver, but now you know. What was broken can only be held back if you allow it. The victory has already been won. The power is in your hands. The challenge now is to remain firm, not to look back, not to give space to what God has already removed from your path. Each step you take towards the truth is territory that the enemy loses forever. Now what remains for you is no longer to fight with what was left behind, but to move forward with your head held high and your spirit anchored in the certainty of your purpose. You are not just a survivor of the enemy's traps. You are someone who has awakened to his own power, someone whose light can no longer be hidden. The greatest fear of darkness has already been fulfilled. You have seen, you have exposed, and now nothing can be hidden again. Walk, chosen one, guided by the peace and clarity of someone who knows that he has been called to greater things. The light that you carry will always be greater than any darkness that tries to rise. And so, you continue, invincible, protected, and destined for what God has prepared. Chosen one, see the divine mystery at work. What the enemy sent to destroy you became the fire that refined you. The devil's daughter came to bind your spirit, but instead, her deception burned away while your light remained unshaken. Every trap, every chain, every illusion meant to break you became a stepping stone on your path to awakening. Through the pain, you learned to see with spiritual eyes, to hear with the wisdom of the soul, and to stand in a light so powerful that hell itself could not contain it. Let this truth settle deep within you. No attack was wasted. Each one revealed your strength, sharpened your discernment, and paved the way for your rising. This is your victory. Not that you avoided the storm, but that you emerged with clarity and purpose stronger than ever. Do not be surprised when the enemy tries one last time to pull you back. He will come subtly now, through doubt, through weariness, through the quiet suggestion that maybe you are still bound. That is his final weapon, to plant confusion where breakthrough has already bloomed. But hear this, the chains are broken, and what has fallen must stay fallen. Your task now is to refuse the temptation to look back, to refuse to re-entangle yourself in what God has already set you free from. Every time you choose truth over nostalgia, every time you choose light over longing, you walk deeper into the destiny prepared for you. The devil's daughter fell because your spirit held firm, and every future attempt will fall the same way when you stand anchored in that truth. And now, a deeper peace awaits you. Not loud, not dramatic, but steady and unshakable, like the light that fills your soul. The dance is over, the chain is broken, the storm has passed, and all that remains is for you to claim the ground won by your endurance. Let this peace become your home. Let it remind you that no wind or wave can shake what is rooted in divine truth. You have walked through fire and emerged refined. You have faced lies and chosen clarity. This is your moment, chosen one, to walk forward in quiet power, no longer striving, no longer fearful, but sure of the victory that is already yours. The enemy's plan has failed. The light has won. And now, nothing can stop what God has set in motion for your life. Chosen one, as you stand at the end of this battle, let yourself truly absorb the magnitude of what has happened. You didn't just survive the enemy's attack, you dismantled it by refusing to abandon your light. The devil's daughter came to entangle you in deception, hoping to drain your spirit, but she underestimated the power of a soul rooted in divine truth. Because you chose integrity over illusion, your light became too powerful for any darkness to endure. That is your true victory. A victory of steadfastness, courage, and unwavering clarity. Let this truth anchor deeply in your spirit. No plan formed against you can prosper when you stand firmly in the light that was always yours to carry. The enemy will try again. Chosen one, Not with the same face, but through new disguises and tactics designed to find weakness. But now, you see through the illusions. Now you recognize his voice, his patterns, and the traps he sets. And with this awareness comes authority. The authority to walk in peace, even in the midst of the storm. The devil's daughter fell because you stayed true, and so will any future attack that tries to reach you. Your protection comes not from striving, but from staying aligned with divine truth. As long as you walk in that alignment, no weapon formed against you will ever bind you again, and no darkness will ever claim what God has secured. So today, claim your victory fully. Declare it boldly. I claim my victory, and I walk in my truth. Let heaven witness it. Let the enemy tremble before it, and let your own spirit feel the chains fall even farther away. This is your moment to walk forward, not glancing back at what tried to break you, but stepping into what has been prepared for you. Let your light burn brighter. Let your peace rise higher. And let this be the beginning of a chapter where you walk in the freedom that was always yours. The time for survival is over. Now is the time for triumph. You are not just chosen, you are victorious. And no darkness can stand against what God has written over your life.